Hi, my name is Adam. I'm with Gwinnett County Public Library, and I'm here today to talk about the top 10 essential tools for DIYers you should consider when setting up your own toolbox. The first thing I want to talk about today is the cordless drill. It's actually a cordless drill driver, and it's the only power tool on my list, but I included it because it's so versatile to have. One of the major advantages of the cordless, unlike the corded drill, is that it's very portable. You can really take it anywhere. It comes with this detachable battery that just fits into the bottom, and it's pretty much ready to go at that point. It can both drill and drive fasteners like screws into wood and other materials. It's called a driver in the sense of like a screwdriver, just like you would do manually, but this does it for you. Now, anytime you use a power tool, you should use safety glasses. So I haven't included them in my list of tools, but it is an essential thing to have if you're going to have one of these. So I'm going to put those on and just show you real quick kind of how a cordless drill driver works. So with this particular model, it has adjustable speed settings. Number 1 is what you would use if you are driving, and number 2 is the faster setting that you use for drilling. And it also has different settings here. It's a clutch that will prevent you from overdriving a fastener into your material and sinking it too deeply. So you just have to adjust that based on what material that you're working with. So I'll show you how to use that in just a moment, but first let me show you how to change bits. So this is a drill bit. This has what's known as a keyless chuck, so you just change bits by tightening this manually by hand. So you just put the bit in and you just rotate this until it tightens. And usually you'll hear a clicking noise. Oops, wrong way. Let's see. Almost. Okay, there we go. And so it's really just that easy, and then it's ready to drill with. And now if I wanted to, say, drive this screw into this piece of wood, I would want to change bits to this, which is actually a Phillips head bit. So again, just loosen this by hand, take that one out, and then we'll put this one in, tighten it up. Clicks. And then you just, and again, I'll adjust this torque setting or clutch setting just by twisting this dial. I'm going to twist it pretty low for this one because it's a pretty soft piece of wood. And that ratcheting sound you've heard is actually the clutch disengaging so that it doesn't keep driving that and damage the piece of wood that you're working on. And another indispensable thing to have with a cordless drill is a set of drill bits. And they typically come in a case like this. And you don't need a huge set. Just something like this is perfectly adequate for DIY work. And again, just like with this bit, you can just change it out. And then you're ready to go and drill your hole in your piece of wood or other material. And as you can see in this piece of wood, I've drilled a smaller hole with a bit like this. Now you can also buy this type of bit, which is known as a spade bit, for drilling larger holes like this. This is a 1-inch spade bit. Now that's not technically essential when you're first starting out, but it's just something to consider if you have a need for something like that. And other attachments to consider are like this wire brush that you can use in your drill. Say you have a piece of outdoor patio furniture that's metal that you want to repaint, maybe it's really rusty. You could use this wire brush to remove that rust first and save yourself a lot of manual labor by letting the drill do the work for you. So that's the cordless drill. Great power tool to have. And the next tool on my list today is the screwdriver. So if you have just a general, this is what's called a number 2 Phillips. It's going to handle most household and DIY tasks. They come in different sizes, number 2 being the most common. There's a number 1, there's number 3, they come in all different sizes, but if you have this and then also just a regular flathead screwdriver like this, that's going to cover 95% probably of your DIY tasks. And screwdrivers also come in many shapes and sizes, like the longer handled or longer length ones like this, and in the stubby configurations like this. Probably don't need those when you're first starting out necessarily. But another thing that you can consider is one of these, which is a handle that accepts multiple different types of bits. And you can get these sets that includes a number of different ones, not only the Phillips head and the flat head, but things like the spline bits, which are actually known as Torx bits, and hex bits and things like that. So these just fit into this handle like this, and then you can use that just like you would a screwdriver. And these two come in different lengths and extensions if you needed that. So that's an option to consider just starting out if you're not wanting to take up a bunch of space and you want it to be as versatile as possible. And then another nice thing about these sets is that they often come with these adapters that you can put in your drill driver, and then you can use these bits with that adapter and use it with your drill. So that's a really nice thing about these sets. And just to show you a few of these bits that are included, Phillips head, it comes with a few of those. And then these are called spline bits. They're also known as Torx bits often, but they come in all different sizes, so it includes all of those here. And then also flathead slotted bits. These, which are the square pointed ones, which you encounter from time to time with different fasteners, which is nice to have. And then these are basically the same as some of these, except that they're just a little bit longer, like an extension. So these are called hex key sets, also sometimes known as Allen wrenches. And these are a must-have because you often need these when you're assembling things, like pieces of furniture that you may buy or other products. Very commonly you'll need these. They come in standard and metric sizes. Probably best to start out with just a standard set, and you really don't need a huge set. Probably something like this is just fine. This goes all the way from 1/4 inch to 5/64. So something like that is perfectly adequate for DIY work. And of course you can always expand later on as you do more projects and maybe even consider metric. Sometimes these come as sets with both the standard and the metric. And if you want to, you can purchase that, and that way you have both. This one's nice because it's all in one. You just fold these out, and then you can use it. It's like kind of doubles as a handle, and then it just folds back into the handle. So rather than having them separately like this, it's just all together in one thing. So that's kind of nice, and it saves space. So another basic tool that you should have is these. These are slip joint pliers, and they're so called because you can open up the jaws by sliding them over like that, and that will allow you to grab onto larger objects, and then you can go back like that to grab hold of smaller objects. And pliers like this are really good to have for like grabbing hold of things and twisting them or bending them, or pulling things out like nails or staples, for example. So when people think of pliers, this is usually what they're thinking of. I happen to like the needle nose pliers. These actually aren't slip joint pliers, but they are a type of plier, needle nose pliers. Again, they're very versatile because they allow you to get into narrower spots than you can get with the slip joint pliers. And I think I end up using these more often actually than I do any other type of plier. They can do a lot of the same things actually. So this is kind of a bonus tool, but consider this as well. And another nice thing about these is that they come with these wire cutters that are helpful. You can just put a piece of wire in the back and clamp down, and that will snip it in two for you. So that's another great thing about this particular pair of needle nose pliers. And these, which are also technically slip joint pliers, but they're known as tongue and groove pliers, work in the similar way as the standard slip joint pliers, because you just slide these up and down according to these grooves, and that will adjust the grip size of these. Now these are used mainly a lot of times in plumbing work because you can grab hold of things like pipes and round objects and twist them and turn them. But they're useful for so many things. Anytime you need to really get a good grip on something or twist something open, these are great to have. And they come in different sizes, so for the DIYer just starting out, probably want to go with a medium size one like this. You definitely don't need something this large when you're first starting out, unless you're doing some serious plumbing work. Or these smaller ones. These are nice to have, but definitely I wouldn't call them essential when you're just getting started. So start with something like this probably. And with the slip joint pliers, just to show you, kind of demo how these work. actually have a staple in this piece of wood over here, so you can grab hold of something like this and just kind of yank it out. It makes it so much easier than trying to use your fingers or a screwdriver. So something that you'll use a lot and definitely a good investment. Now, adjustable wrenches are another great tool to have. These two, like the tongue and groove pliers, come in many different sizes. And again, if you're going to get just one, usually the medium size one is the one to start with. Although with these, I recommend, if you can, getting different sizes, just simply because you can use them on different size nuts and fasteners. And these are adjustable by turning this dial. Turning it clockwise opens the jaws, and then turning it counterclockwise closes them. And you'll use these a lot, like the tongue and groove pliers in plumbing applications. So say you wanted to replace a bathroom or a kitchen faucet, you're almost definitely going to need these or these. And many other applications, automotive even, or just any time you need to loosen a nut and you don't have a full set of wrenches you can use, oftentimes you can get by with an adjustable wrench like this. So those are the adjustable wrenches, great tool to have. The next one on my list is the hammer. And I know you're probably thinking, what can there possibly be to say about hammers? Well, a few things actually. And what to look for, I guess. This is just known as a regular claw hammer, sometimes also known as a carpenter's hammer. And it's so called because it has this claw on the back that allows you to extract nails from wood and other materials. That's something that you don't have with this type of hammer. This type of a hammer is called a ball peen hammer, and it lacks the claw on the back. This is also sometimes known as an engineer's hammer, and it's used more for those types of applications like engineering or mechanical, automotive, things like that. So for just the average DIYer, you don't need one of these right off the bat. They're not really balanced well for hammering nails, and of course they lack the claw on the back. And with claw hammers, they too come in different sizes. This one is a fiberglass material. Sometimes they're made out of wood, sometimes they have metal handles. Generally, the fiberglass or the metal are preferable because they're not as prone to breaking as the wood. But if you have wood, that's probably okay. This one also is a claw hammer, although the claw isn't as pronounced as on the other one, but that's just fine. You don't need a large framing hammer, it's more like this where the claw is straighter and it's a larger with a longer handle. You don't need that for just general DIY work, so probably look for something more like this, a 12 or 16 ounce, just regular claw hammer. And then the next thing I want to talk about is the utility knife, sometimes also known as box cutters. And most people are probably pretty familiar with these, but they just have a blade that retracts, and these are great for anything from opening boxes and cutting up cardboard to cutting like plastic straps off of packages, and also for cutting carpet or cutting caulk, anytime where you need some heavy-duty cutting capabilities. And the nice thing about these is that the blades are easily replaceable. So when one becomes dull, it's just easy to unscrew this, put a new blade in, and you're good to go. So definitely a good thing to have in the toolbox. And then next here is the tape measure, which most people probably have. Although something like this, which is a 6-foot tape measure, is okay, but I really would suggest going with something more like this, which is a 25-foot tape measure, because it's just more versatile, because you have greater length, obviously. And another great feature to look for in a tape measure is this locking mechanism, so that when you extend it, you can lock it in place and it won't close up with you, which is nice. Whereas something like the smaller one lacks that, and this is great if you just need something to put in your pocket quickly and take with you, but obviously if you're going to be using this very much, it's going to kind of aggravating. So you don't have very much to work with, so I definitely would recommend more like the 25-foot to start with for your home toolbox. And then last but not least is the level. This happens to be a 4-foot level. They come in different lengths. You would probably be just fine with a 2-foot level for general DIY work, but this one is good because with the greater length it kind of gives you a little bit more to work with. And they have, if you can see, there's a little window in here, and there's a liquid-filled glass tube that has lines. And then once it's balanced correctly, that the bubble in the middle will be right in between those two lines. And it allows you to level both horizontally and vertically, depending on which way you orient the level. So these are great for all sorts of projects, even down to hanging curtain rods in your house, for example. So anytime you need a level surface, so suppose you're using your cordless drill to hang curtain rods or a shower curtain rod or something like that, or hang a picture, a level is an indispensable tool to have. So that covers all the tools on our list today. I do just want to point out that if you are considering purchasing some of these, tools are kind of one of those things where you get what you pay for. So you definitely don't need the most expensive option, and I don't promote any brands, but definitely don't necessarily go with the cheapest option either. Maybe more like middle of the road to get the quality that you like. So keep that in mind as you're looking. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you some tips for what to purchase and what to look for, and also hopefully it will help you save some money and become more self-sufficient. So thanks so much for watching.